book tonight. I'm sure we're the only ones here right now, but you know. Hello, honey.
Hello, darling.
You look lovely.
I'm Robin Shadle. This is my wife, Nixie.
Did you share on the author page the link?
Yes, I did, dear.
Okay.
And it's live there. So.
Oh, hey,
yes.
That's me.
Yes,
it's me on
hence
my
the
phone.
Hence the 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm tired.
That's why we have the question prompts for you written down.
Yep, because I'm tired.
This is, of course, the release live stream for my newest novel, Crossroad Blues, which went live today. Now, there are some weird issues with the paperback.
Where's the copy so we can hold up the...
Oh, no, the copy is not in here. There's some issues with the paperback being available on Amazon, but it is available bookshop.org, which I do recommend that everyone who wants a paperback go through them because they donate a portion of each sale to local independent bookstores you can choose for your own neighborhood. So, but the ebook is on Amazon, and figure out what's going on with the paperback, updated for everyone there. Now, I know you've got some questions.
So,
because
intro, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Nix. This is my wife, Robin. I'm moderating this thing because she asked me to. And, you know, happy wife, happy life.
You're the extrovert. Of course you're moderating.
I'm the very, very tired extrovert. I don't know. So feel free. We do have a chat. Hopefully the chat is working.
Hopefully it's working. Right now we
see anything yet.
Again,
feel free to say hello, please.
Keep in mind, we did just update for people.
Feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to say hello. Please don't let me do this on my own.
Well, since it's so difficult, I won't ask you to do it again.
No. If it were different, I'd probably be much better at this. I'm a mess today. All right. So why don't we start? Give us a little synopsis about the book.
Well, the one sentence summary is, deals with the devil have consequences.
And we're discussing, y'all, I'm a mess.
We know, we're used to that.
And when you say that, though, is it really just one deal we're discussing in this book?
Well,
technically.
Technically. Overt deal that is a plot driver, but given what I'm evoking mythologically, there is, of course, a second deal with the devil. That is sort of the impetus for this happening.
Well, why don't you tell our viewers about the book series so far leading up to this point?
Okay. Beginning with the first book, Liam's Doom, we pick up on private investigator and supernatural fixer Samantha Sam Hain, who has spent the last 10 years of her life doing what she can to help both humans and supers who run afoul of law enforcement designed to make sure that everyone knows that supernatural creatures don't exist. In this book, a red cap comes all the way from Ireland to request aid for a banshee friend of his who was live streamed on TikTok by a young girl who happened to see wailing out on the moors. That led to a confrontation with two groups of humans. The Hermetic Order of the Astrum Argentum, headed by Samantha's estranged father, Donald Hain, and the Order of the Dragon, a group of white European male knights who resurrect Dracula, because together they have decided that if the world will not move toward enlightenment, they will force it on them. During the confrontation, when they were trying to summon a demon in order to bring their plans about, Sam shot her father in the knee. He fled through a portal that he created, and through a ritual where she cobbled together a whole bunch of different magical traditions, Sam got lucky and defeated the demon. Then we move into book 2, which picks up 2 months later, Carmilla's Ghost, which is a more personal, more intimate look at Sam and...
Usually it was Doom on the phone.
I know, I already showed it.
I can't remember I don't remember you picking it up.
With her ex-girlfriend, whom she clearly did not want to get back together with, the vampire countess Carmilla Karnstein. After a long discussion, and this is where the series did much darker tone, because we discuss Carmilla's past, some abuse she suffered after being framed by the agents of one Vlad Dracula, but Sam is able to uncover the mystery, clear her name, and then they profess their love in what is my accidental take on 19th century Victorian sapphic tease and denial erotica.
It's a lesbian vampire Hallmark movie.
At Christmas.
Christmas Hallmark movie.
We pick up a few months later with It Hungers.
I do. The cover's really good on this one, so let's...
Which takes a few months later. Sam's stuff's going well. Then all of a sudden, a string of disappearances, of children, start to plague her hometown of Butcher's Bend, South Carolina. Eventually, as she begins to work with allies, they uncover that there is a young man who is the young heir of a very wealthy and influential planter family. And he has made a deal with a demonic entity that the family has long made deals with. And again, we pick up with the, oh, look, Sam is cobbling together a magical ritual that seems to work. She doesn't need to learn magic. She doesn't need study. She doesn't need help. She's doing just fine on her own. And there is the prequel, Bloodlust, which I when Sam and Carmilla first met. Sam made that rather irresponsible bargain with Devil, where she offered him a blank check in exchange for a very specific favor of getting to spend some time with her deceased mother, whom, well, given that as far as everyone knows, Sam's mother died by suicide, and per the rules of the universe, necromantic communication cannot reach those who died by suicide.
I'm trying to monitor things and make sure they're not screwing up because we keep getting those.
We have one channel's not working well. I'm not sure which one, but the others seem going fine. So
it looks like Facebook is still going strong.
Okay, so at least Facebook is going strong. We'll see how things go. So that brings us to where we are.
Yep. Okay.
And you have questions.
I do. I have so many questions, most of them about our sanity. To be fair, when I edited the book, how many notes did I have WTF written next to?
And half of those were things that you just didn't know existed.
True. Alrighty.
Including things from Japanese nerd culture.
Yep. So, one thing, overlaying things, is a deal with the devil, and part of that involves Nick Scratch cashing in his blank check that he has kind of held over Sam's head for several years. Let's discuss that a little.
That way, well, I mean, part of it seems the soul has escaped hell with assistance from others, specifically a soul who has earned a spot in hell not by failing to complete the terms of his own bargain with the devil. And since in the process the soul is tainting other souls by using dark magic, which means souls that should be winding up in heaven or ending up in hell, and it's causing some issues in the grand scheme of the universe. And Michael descends into hell to collect one such soul and informs the entirety of hell's infrastructure that Father is allowing you one chance to handle this before he steps in. And so the devil, not wanting to have to deal with heaven stepping in on his territory, is cashing in on a check for any service you desire. He's given Sam 2 months, or he will collect her soul on the 30th of October, one day before her birthday, so that she no longer gets to spend any time with her departed mother.
So, one thing I noticed is, and dark themes in the book, but it takes a much lighter tone as opposed to the previous book, It Hungers. Did you feel a need to do that after writing It Hungers?
Funny you mentioned that. I wrote this one first.
Really?
This was originally supposed to be book 3. But after finishing it and looking at where things stood, I felt that something had to be between the very personal Carmilla's Ghost, the very intimate. Liam's Doom had a rather large cast of characters. Carmilla's Ghost really brought that down primarily to 4 characters. Sam, Carmilla's estate steward, Martin,
MVP.
And then the antagonist, the specific agent of the Order of the Dragon who was going after them. There were a few others who showed up here and there. Destiny and her father. Werther Grimm showed up by Zoom chat. There's a little bit with Destiny and some other friends in the front. But for the most part, I narrowed the cast of characters to something that was more manageable. And then, like I said, it was personal, it was intimate. I didn't think there was enough propulsion from, okay, Sam's struggling. She's been living in a crappy apartment in a crappy part of town. She has a 15-year car that's last all of a sudden 4 months and things. Well, I wanted to show some of that. I wanted to show that as it developed. So It Hungers was primarily for, look, she's got a new car. Here we can see her moving into a house. We start to see more of the found family that grown after her mother's passing and her father being the asshole that he is.
Yep.
And
one character series, major and minor.
Mm-hmm.
Who would your favorite?
Really? Favorites?
One major, one minor.
Interesting.
Like, who is a character that has barely been in the books, but you really love them and you want to do more with them, it just hasn't been there yet?
I'm trying to think.
And then who's your favorite main cast member?
Destiny's everywhere, so she's... Destiny will get her spotlight soon enough. Carmilla will get her spotlight soon enough. Sam is always in the spotlight, whether she likes it or not. So there's them.
But who's a soft spot for?
If to pick maybe Agent Jeffrey Smith.
I do love Jeffrey.
He's not as useless as in Bloodlust. And he's slowly realizing that being around Destiny means you have to deal with ADHD German Sherlock Holmes.
Which we got some Jeffrey in It Hungers, and we get a little bit of Jeffrey as well in this one.
A little bit.
He's a good guy.
He is a minor character. He's a minor recurring character. I've got a lot planned for Carmilla. I'm not entirely sure I would... Donald is a main antagonist at this point, but I'm not sure I would call him a main character.
I really have a soft spot for Janice Johnson. And
you would have a soft spot for
his
the werewolf.
dad jokes make me happy.
I'm sorry, yes, a werewolf dad who tells dad jokes. If you see Janice on the page, There will be a dad joke in the scene.
And then Martin is my homeboy. I love Martin so much.
I mean,
Y'all don't even know how much I love Martin.
Martin is a character. I have been informed that I will be served divorce papers if I kill him.
Yo, like, not even kidding. Like, I have said, if anything that happens to Martin, I will riot. I love Martin.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't think I've given him really much characterization.
The sass. The sheer amount of sass. Even coming off the page without, like, you know, like, video or audio or hearing the amount of savage sass that comes out of that man.
He's a sarcastic 3,000-year-old German man.
He's also a badass.
I mean, he's been a warrior serving the Karnstein Berthold clan for 2,500 years.
I love him. I love him. I love him so much. I want nothing but good things from Martin.
Well, he gets what he gets.
Which involves cleaning up sofas.
Among other things.
Okie dokie. Did you draw from any real life inspirations for the for this book?
Not really.
No.
The main I based a little bit on a creepypasta, so that's the closest to real life that you probably get. There was one that just weirdly struck me about a fist fight with the devil.
The Johnsons kind of actually remind me of two friends of ours in a way.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
Clay Markey, in a way.
I can see that I wasn't
Clay
thinking
being the dad joke werewolf.
I wasn't really thinking about that. I made them when I thought of Maria Johnson. My initial thought was Rashad as Claire Huxtable. That was my idea for her. And Janice, there was a meme that got passed around 2 years ago on Facebook about why do werewolf dads have to be alpha male? Why can't they be the dad who roughhouses, the dad who tells dad jokes? Why can't werewolf feuds be over who sells the most lemon bars at the PTA bake sale?
I can't wait for you to get more into that dynamic in the future books. Not gonna lie,
I know
I'm looking forward to domestic werewolf wars.
I haven't brought in the Scartellis who live 2 doors down from the Johnsons.
Like, they've been mentioned once or twice.
They've been mentioned a couple of times. Yeah, they haven't come onto the page yet. So we have African American werewolf family, and we have a Sicilian werewolf family. And their feud is, for those who haven't read or aren't remember, who has the most gaudy Christmas display, whose haunted house is the scariest, who sells the most lemon bars, whose kids do better in baseball and football, whose kids do better on the honor roll. Mm-hmm. And between them, there is a young witch named Raina Rosenthorn.
Raina is a shit stirrer, y'all.
Whose favorite thing in the world is to stir the pot. She's also the local gossip. And so you need to know something, you go to Raina. The price is gossip target.
One thing I find interesting about this, probably my second favorite character as far as main characters, Destiny. We actually go into her relationship and her sexuality and the way she feels about romance in the book.
Yep.
Would you like to elaborate?
I mean, I've made it fairly clear throughout that Destiny is hetero-romantic, demisexual. She is borderline completely ace. She dates here and there. She enjoys a dirty joke. She reads fan fiction, writes filthy fan fiction. So that is really, while she enjoys, and as she has said, I like seeing my friends get laid, and I like hearing the beats, but unless that spark is there, I just don't, it's not a big deal for her.
And it's not addressed in this book, but it has been mentioned in others that Destiny writes very specific fan fiction.
It has been suggested that the narrator for a certain series is Destiny Grimm. And so if any of the sex seems a bit much, it's because she was writing it.
Probably. Back to my notes.
Also, this is actually the most sex-filled book I have in the entire series so far. And I didn't remember that when I wrote it.
Poor Martin. Poor Martin.
But it's not all like Carmilla's Castle. It's the same house too.
So we do get a new villain introduced in this book, which is Johann Faust.
George Faustus. Yep.
Yeah. And it is made to understand that this is the Faust from Marlowe, the classical Faust. Now, did you go with
a combination of the historical record that we know of, the German Faustbuch, which was Marlowe's source, and there are a few references to Goethe. But this is the Faust who sold his soul and who found himself in hell, brought back by a magical ritual that he and his mentor performed.
So, did you just go with the classical influences for this character, or did you pull in any contemporary influences as well?
Nope. This is meant to be partially because I wanted. He is a medieval soul. What would a medieval soul wandering the modern world? How would he react? And sure, he's been out for 30 years now, but still, we talk about as someone who's in her 40s. How fast technology has changed in my lifetime.
Oh my goodness!
This is someone at a time when he was walking the earth as a mortal, technology didn't change that fast, and so he has a Order of the Dragon issued cell phone. So the learning curve of that, the learning curve of dealing with cars on roads. In some ways, it was sort of let's take a non-comedic Bill and Ted approach to bringing the historical figure forward.
Okay. I don't know why I'm like a young Johnny Cash in my head for some reason.
I mean, he's black.
Because you referred to him as the Man in Black at one point.
Intentional for the longest because I didn't want to. I wanted that reveal to be slow. I wanted the reveal because he shows up. He's that man in black that Old Man Wellington fought at a crossroads 30 years ago. And he shows up and you get that looming figure of the man in black. And you get sort of a traditional, well, what would make this country bumpkin think that he did have a fist fight with the devil? I mean, if you took the gaudy charlatan's robes that, according to the Faust wore, you wouldn't think he was the devil. You'd think he was some kid's party magician doing his due. And so that's sort of why I went with the Man in Black look. And because I was listening to a lot of Johnny Cash when I was outlining.
There is a playlist, isn't there?
There is a playlist.
You want to tell us about some of the songs on the playlist?
I remember some.
I'm trying to remember some of the songs on the playlist.
Ask one of your Crossroad Blues music. Tombstone 3, Symmetry of the Cemetery.
Devil Went Down to Georgia.
I mean,
Symmetry of the Cemetery is a good song.
Symmetry of the Cemetery was just,
I feel like you mentioned that in the book series at some point.
It's
like somebody was listening to it.
It's actually someone's listening to it in this book. But but it was something that just really, I was looking for like Southern Gothic music, and that came up, and I really liked the dark tones. The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Fine, he's in South Carolina this time, if you will, but the idea of making that deal with the devil.
Of course, can't have this playlist called Crossroad Blues without Robert Johnson.
Of course, because the name of the book was inspired by the Robert Johnson song, all of the different legends surrounding the crossroads.
River, Bishop Briggs, everyone's favorite.
Bloodsucker by Paralyzed Age, which is about romance vampire. By Bishop Briggs, it's just a sexy song.
So the question is, does it apply to the parts of the book that take place in South Carolina, or just Sam and Carmilla going at it?
Both. Gallows
Pole, the Wizard.
Yep. Well, Black Sabbath the Wizard is about that wizard, that wandering wizard, that car sideshow. Medicine Man is also about being swindled by a one medicine man, which is what Faust was in his historical life.
It's a really good playlist. We're gonna have to share that.
I mean, I shared it a while back when I blogged about it, but yeah, I can share it again later. But yeah, it was just it was sort of for Carmilla's Ghost, I had a lot of instrumental ambient music.
Okay.
But this one, I had a lot of really specific songs that just came into my mind.
So one thing that has been being explored in all the books so far is Sam's relation with her dad,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as the struggles he have with his desire to obtain and his love and desire to protect Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna? And I'm really hoping you get to redemption arc. My fingers are crossed. That one, you can do whatever you want. I'm not as set on that as Martin.
You're hoping the man who was willing to sacrifice his daughter to a demon for power gets a redemption arc.
I love a good villain redemption arc. I can't help it.
I'm a firm believer that not every villain.
And Dracula is not getting one. So
Dracula hasn't paid yet.
true. I feel like I'm assuming it's going to be successful. I feel like it's a matter of time. I feel like we're not going to build up to that and then not have it.
We'll have to see what happens at the end of the next book, The Magician's Child.
So, but there are other villains I don't want. Like, you see scenes where Don loosely does care about Sam, and there is that bit of heart in the story. I can't help it. I want him. I don't want Sam to be a sad little orphan. Okay.
She's not going to be a little or has a found family to whom Crossroad. My Crossroad Blues was dedicated to my found family.
Hey y'all.
But a sad little orphan. Probably by the time the series ends, she and Carmilla, assuming they're both still alive, will be married or on that path, and her girlfriend is extremely wealthy. So there won't be sad little orphan. There'll be lots of sex with a pretty vampire lady.
Speaking of our found family, one thing I find super interesting about this is that it is actually been into that part. Our chosen family is our gaming group, and
some others.
And you are we've actually been working on developing, and we're about to start a game of Monster of the Week that is set in Butcher's Bend.
Well, I have said when I was marketing this book, my intention was to originally market with a small mini Monster of the Week campaign or a Vampire the Masquerade that was streamed. It just never happened.
Maybe next time.
And so, because Monster of the Week is that setting where you get to play out your Lost Girl, the things that were the inspirations for this. Contrary to what a lot of people think, far less Jim Butcher and more Buffy, more Lost Girl, more of the idea of the serial TV series.
I do still love my Jim Butcher though.
I'm not dissing Jim. It's just I wasn't setting out to borrow from Harry Dresden. Let's face it, Harry's in the phone book as a wizard for hire.
What do you think would happen if Harry Dresden and Sam Hain met?
He'd get shot in the face. That's what would happen. Harry has more in common with her father than people might think about.
That would be a fun way to do it. Watch Donald and Harry going at it. That would be fun.
Donald's older, has more experience, and is willing to, as we learn in Crossroad Blues from Sam and Destiny reading his ritual notes, Donald is willing to kill children for magical success.
T-Rex.
You can summon a zombie T-Rex all you want. If someone's willing to kill children for power.
True. Like I said, it could be a good match because I feel like Donald is almost too traditional in a way, whereas Harry will think outside the box. And that might be... Also, Donald is overconfident as all get out, and I feel like he would underestimate Harry.
Well, Donald's also the most of the person who knows him the best is not in a position to defeat him.
Yet.
As far as he knows. And
if you get to the last page of the book, you'll find out what we mean by that.
Even she's not got the experience. She doesn't have, and she has morals. It's that, to borrow from Doctor Who, the evil doesn't fear the good man because the good man has rules. Evil fears the person who, or the good man doesn't.
Chaotic good though.
She's not chaotic.
No, but good people can.
The closest to chaos is Destiny. And even she's as chaotic as being German will allow.
That's another thing that gets addressed more in this book that's interesting is Destiny's PTSD.
that was brought up in the first one. We saw her have a.
But we delve into it a little more in this one.
While Sam may be the main character, she's not the only one who's getting a character arc. And so Destiny is getting... Hers is meant to be slower because she isn't the protagonist. She doesn't have to have as much movement per book as Sam does. But she is getting her arc to develop because of what I have planned for a certain thing, what I will call Season 1's finale.
All right. So how many books do you think Season 1 is going to have?
7.
7. So we're halfway there? Ish.
Crossroad Blues is the mid-season cliffhanger finale. You know, that point in the mid-season where they stop and you know something's about to happen and it's about to get dark or about to get weird, but then they cut off right before it finishes.
And technically no spoiler, kind of a spoiler, but we do have a character who dies in this book. Did you always plan for them to die?
Yeah.
They were always done. They were always...
The damsel was going to propel forward what had to be propelled, Sam to fail.
Yeah.
And so this isn't just the things don't go your way, like in the last one where she succeeded, but she forgot to bind the spirit in a witch's bottle. This is that point in Act 2 of a movie or in Act 2 of a play where everything starts to go to shit.
This is the I am your father, get your hand cut off.
This is the I am your father, get your hand cut off. This is the, hey, by the way, Oedipus, when I told you you were going to kill your father and marry Joe, and you ask what I meant Joe Mama.
Did you?
On my TikTok today, that talk, and so it's in my head.
I'm not sober enough for this.
That's what happens. I'm a monster of a Punisher.
I know, because I am actually completely sober. Fun fact, this is tea. I'm not drunk enough for this. Other way around. I am exhausted.
We know.
All right. So you're already working on the next book.
Halfway through.
Do you have an outline planned for the next 3 books since you said 3 left? Or do you just have kind of like where you're going for now?
I have I don't start outlining the book until I start to write it.
Okay.
I know I have book 5 outlined because I'm halfway through that outline.
Do we have a tentative title yet?
The Magician's Child.
Oh, yeah, duh. We already, yeah. I think you'll change it. I know Crossword, that's a fun thing. Crossword Blues is the only book she hasn't changed the title of at some point.
And we'll get to that in a second because per the question you asked me.
You think he'll change it or not?
No. Before that.
Oh. I asked a question?
Yes, about outlines and the plans.
That question.
So, yeah, The Magician's Child is outlined. The tentative plan for book 6, I'm looking at calling it Beneath a Blue Moon Sky, Under a Blue Moon, something like that.
Beneath the Moonless Sky.
Blue Moon Sky.
AKA the Porny Exposition song.
Blue Moon Sky. Mainly because I'd like
Angela Weber would sue.
No. Blue Moon because a blue moon is when you have 2 full moons in a month. And Sam gets her special cases on the full moon. And so the plan is to do basically 2 novellas in one. So if you take 2 books about 60-65% of the length, 2 cases, the length of about 60-70% of each book, that's what you'll get with the Blue Moon book. And then book 7 will have a different first-person narrator for the majority of it, but it will bring the first act into completion. Book 8 will be the...
Ooh, we're going to do a book 8 because you said 7.
Yep, for the arc. Book 8 will then be, that holiday special type thing that happens between the seasons. I don't know if it's going to be... I don't know when it's going to set yet, but...
Carmilla goes to Vine Octave Boogaloo?
No.
You know you love it.
Tentative title, The War of Autumn's Twilight. And
that
then,
doesn't sound like a little Christmas special.
Well, you know how in between seasons you get a holiday special sometimes. That's what it is. Season 2 will have another 7 books, and we'll go from there. So it'll be the last season. I want to do mostly. I'd like to do 3 seasons at max, just because I like things in 3.
Have you thought about doing some more like standalone type books, like more like a Nancy Drew kind of vibe? Just like it's the same characters, it's the same world, it's a mystery getting solved, but it's not connected to the other books as much.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't have the benefit of the Carolyn Keene being a collective author who writes it for me. But I mean, I am slowing production to do some other writing projects. Eventually, I'll get back to the Dungeon of Destiny.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I mean, not much because we're not talking about that book hasn't been written yet.
But I know you started work on it.
Very, very brief work, but that was just the idea of Destiny Grimm gets the main characters together to play Dungeons and Dragons. And part of the plan is to take where the first person narration scenes are at the beginning of chapters.
You know, Mark,
like I did.
It has to be a mixer. Oh, he is, isn't he?
But and interspersed with the first person scenes are the metagame scenes where you see them at and around the table, and the third person scenes will be sort of a fantasy narrative in the world as it exists. I'm thinking about doing that part. I want to get it planned in time where I can then also release the actual module that Destiny runs. And that's something I would like to have where the proceeds of that go to Extra Life or to benefit another charity.
That'd be fun.
Because every June I donate all of my money to the Trevor Project because it is something that is important to me, especially now. And so, I can give. I mean, this past year I was able to give $150, which was awesome because they had a thing that month that if for Pride Month, however much you donated, matched. So my $150 became a $300 donation, which was really, really cool. So there's that. But yeah, maybe a few standalones, but a few other projects. Maybe something a different genre. The palette cleanser that you mentioned was, where is it? There we go. Was this weird little PG paranormal romance under the pen name R.S. Parker. Very, very sappy.
I actually still haven't read.
No, you haven't.
Nope.
I tried to get you to, but you didn't. It's PG.
That was good. I got through Crossroad Blues before this happened. I actually made edits like a good girl as opposed to the last one, which I didn't.
Yes, dear. It's sap, but Petals on the Page is sappy. It's sapphic. It's very much. It's just meant to be a very simple. There's no sex, so sorry if you need that in your romances. I just wanted to write something
happy.
PG and happy after the darkness that was It Hungers, because that was even more personal. But let's focus on Crossroad Blues.
I think that was the end of my questions.
No, you have quite a few.
No, we've done most of those, huh? The next one is Monster of the Week.
Next plan, check. Life inspirations, feelings.
Y'all ask questions, please.
Non-spoiler series plans, inspiration for.
Yeah, that other page is Monster of the
Week. Okay, yeah, you're right. I could have sworn you had more questions.
I had lots of questions. They just don't pertain to your book.
Then what question? You're not helpful right now, dear.
I know.
Those here, I do take questions from the audience.
Well, I know we've talked about the possibility of doing some public events with the books, so that could be a debate. We've talked about doing a convention. If anyone's interested in seeing Joanna do something,
the debate is COVID is still a thing.
Also, money.
No, COVID is still a thing. Even if money weren't an option, I do have to recognize COVID is still a thing, and it's still the wanting to be out, wanting to meet people, wanting to do public things like Louisiana Book Festival or doing a couple of cons. But every time I hear anything about a con, oh look, everyone who went got COVID, got COVID. And so I do not want to contribute to any super spreader or any spreader events any more than I have to. And, wearing a mask will only do so much, especially given the cons in our area. The majority of people don't see masks as important.
And a lot of the Louisiana conventions are dying off, sadly.
Louisiana conventions are dying off. Texas is not exactly safe for someone like that. And I can't be guaranteed that the con organizers would protect should something happen. Oh, in case you're curious, this is the first book where I actually had, people screaming that I was a Satanist.
Let's talk about that. That's funny. That was some funny stuff, y'all.
Facebook offered me $20 to promote a post for free, so I did it. I've done this for every book. I've posted like a week or two before I've had ads for them coming out. This is the first one where I have had people onto my social media and screaming satanic, satanic, satanic.
There was literally one guy that is all he did was go through every post on her author page and put satanic.
For those who are curious, and I deleted all of them because my page is not a page for that. And also because it was just getting annoying.
You're more mature than I am because I would have been a smartass.
Oh no, I'm working on trying to get something prepared because I intend to have a video advertisement for the book where I mention that you too can now read the book that caused this one person, I'll show it, panic before it was even available to read, and caused others to hurl Bible verses at me like they were trying to exorcise me.
Good times.
And yes, all of these people had very common denominators. I don't mind saying it. I will be quite honest. My books are filled with queer women whose enemies are white, European, cis-het men who believe they have a divinely ordained destiny to rule and control the world. And so, if you find those women problematic, we know what side of the world you're on.
To be fair, Martin is too. He's cool.
He's also not trying to take over the world, nor is he Christian, or at least nominally so. And all of these individuals who came to my Facebook page had pictures of a white Jesus. He was brown because he was Middle Eastern.
Please tell me at least one was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No. Or they had like, let's go Brandon in their names. They told on themselves. And I have said this from the beginning. Queer people exist. If queer people being happy, if the idea of inclusivity, of diversity, if these things upset you, my books are not for you. There are plenty of you, but my books aren't those. And I don't mind saying that because I am here for my audience. And those are the people for whom I write. And those are the people I seek to attract. It is what it is. Not every book is for every audience. And that's something that anyone who is looking at classical literature, you don't have to like everything you read. You just weren't the audience.
Something went wrong.
Oh man, that just might be your thing because it's showing.
I don't know. Because I'm looking at your page.
Well, I mean, that could also be on your phone, dear.
Okay, maybe not. No. Yeah, I think
Because-
the Wi-Fi cut off.
We'll see. It shouldn't have cut off, but
Okay.
let me make a check on my own page. Not that page. Why does it go to that page? We are testing, so if I don't need Facebook.
Let me pull up YouTube.
Yeah, I got the YouTube going because we're still live on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
So at least one of the feeds is working.
Yep. Someone probably got pissed and reported you to Facebook.
It probably happened, and I really don't care.
Okay. Well, I am out of questions, so if you want, we can go ahead and wrap this up unless there's something else you want to talk about.
Well, we can wrap it. I mean, a few things I do want to say. Yeah. I mean, yes, some will say that I alienated potential readers. Look, if being told that what my politics are alienate you, you weren't going to enjoy the books. Because my books are filled with those politics. A book book series where the Christian interpretation. Hell is based on Dante, yes. The devil might not be quite the bad guy. He's quite charming, actually.
Loves his wife.
He does love his wife. There will be a little that hasn't been brought in as much as I want to. Yes, I am playing on the idea that the devil and Lilith are a couple. And yes, his name is Samael.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Not right now. I mean, I do believe that should be about it.
All right.
Thank you for those who joined us. Thank you very much.
This is Robin Shaw. Crossroad Blues is out now, along with all the same one up, and y'all have a great night.
Bye. Why is it not?